Alright, Diablo 4 Necromancers, let's check out the brand new items that are coming out in Season 5, specifically looking at the uniques and their newer updates, but I want to start off with the brand newer uniques. Look at the stuff on the right side, by the way, the stuff on the left is like the older version of the test realm on these brand new items. So, Path of Trag'oul, brand new boots over here, they're giving us +3 evade, we get plus up to 2 to bone skills, which is actually really good for any bone build. And then we get a massive amount of armor, and then we get a bone prison cooldown, and bone prison traps a larger area and fires in bone splinters at enemies trapped within, which is actually a very viable build already. Bone splinters is actually crazy powerful. And then it's going to also increase our maximum essence, which is really good because there's a lot of things that have to deal with, like, the more essence you have, the more damage that you deal, or it'll consume your essence. So if you're running like bone spirit, you know, obviously the more essence, more damage, right? So it's actually going to be a pretty cool item for any bone build. It's just like best in slot pretty much because of this. The rest of the stuff, I mean, it can, you know, be good for certain stuff, but this is also a nice little bonus. Plus, for some builds, Bone Prism is kind of your source of vulnerability. But on top of that, there is a new dagger called the Mortacrux. So what did this get for the newer update? So you have a inherent, so the implicit is now 50% damage, so it's a little bit better than it was before. And then so we're getting some int, some crit strike damage. That's a pretty big number. At 125, we get a good amount of vulnerable damage as well. Then we have ranks 2 healed flesh, which is actually a pretty good one. So your damage has up to a chance to create a corpse. So obviously this is going to be good because of the power. When you consume a corpse, there is a chance to create a decaying skeletal simulacrum that seeks out enemies, but it can't attack, and when it explodes, it deals some sort of amount of shadow damage. Now, unfortunately, the biggest problem with this, and I haven't seen anyone make a build around a Mortacrux, and I was really hoping that, you know, it would be buffed and better. Now, we did get some buffs right here, but the main problem with this little skeletal simulacrum is once it goes and gets summoned, it kind of like waits, and it takes too long, and it takes like several seconds before it actually runs up and explodes. So there's a huge delay in how this actual like item registers in terms of damage. I think that is the main problem, the reason why no one's really playing this. So hopefully they will actually have another update, or if they secretly updated, as far as I'm aware of, they haven't said, hey guys, the new skeletal simulacrums will actually run and explode at things like, you know, the thing with like Howl from below, which would just run and explode. This one, it stands around, it kind of looks around, and then decides, I don't know, I want to wait a couple of seconds, okay, I'll blow up. Like, that's the main problem. It's just, it's too slow, and, you know, action RPGs, you got to be kind of moving things along. But if you're playing a minion build and you throw this in, like, can you just add it in? I don't really think so. I think that this is a great thing, though, if you do want to run, like, some sort of corpse explosion. But, I mean, it is a free extra source of damage, and if you get a bunch of them, I mean, sure, it could be good maybe against a boss. But, like, on average, like, your clear speed, if you were just looking at this with, like, let's say, Sacrilegious Soul, just getting all these free, you know, corpse consumptions to get this big damage with it, it just takes too long to activate. I think that's the main problem with Mortacrux, though. But as far as the other items go, there are some really nice updates. So let's go over these rapid fire real quick. So with the Black River, we get a newer change on the implicit with 10% attack speed. That's awesome. And then they also buffed up the corpse explosion damage. Overall, it's one of my favorite items in the game just for clearing stuff out, and it's great for that, but it doesn't add any like min-max or push sort of a build as far as I'm aware of. But this is definitely a nice little thing. And then we also have Lidless Wall over here. The newer updates with this give you massive amounts of armor. Look at this, 2,300, or it rolls to 2,900. And then you also get flat total armor. And this doesn't even have to roll. You just get all these stats for free, which is excellent. You also have Bone Storm duration, so that's going to be really good. You also got cooldown reduction, so they really want you to have this Bone Storm up 100% of the time. Plus 2 to bone skills, so if you're playing Bone Spear, Bone Spirit even, like these are really nice extra bonus stats, because when you have the Bone Spirit builds, I mean, you definitely want to get cooldown reduction, as it's kind of tying into kind of how the build runs. But then you lose out on the tempering, but there's a sacrifice there. But anyways, there's another bonus over here where it's like lucky hit when you have an active Bone Storm. This goes up to 45, so basically a 50% bonus as it used to be. The other rest of the stats are basically the same though. So overall, nice little buffs with that item indeed. And then we also have the Bloodless Scream. I think this item has always been bad. So they buffed up the like unique power where your darkness skills chill enemies for up to a set amount and can deal 200% increased damage to frozen enemies. Maybe if you're playing in a group, you can maybe try to make use out of this, like if there's a Sork. That could be kind of interesting to mix it up. But you get +1 to darkness skills, you get freeze duration, lucky hit, and int. I don't know why the Necromancer just got kind of messed up over here. Like, a lot of the Stork items were +300, and the Necromancer's like, well, you get some, right? But you also got non-physical damage versus life on kill, so that can help out a little bit too, but I don't see this being like super strong and OP. They also did buff up where you get to generate additional essence. Where your darkness skills have a 100% chance to generate additional essence against frozen targets. So if you need resource, maybe that can help out. But next up, Deathspeaker's pendant. So we get extra attack speed. We get essence per enemy drained by blood surge. We also get ranks to blood surge, coalesce blood, and then we get blood surge creates a little mini nova. And it's basically the same. I don't know if these numbers have been increased because they didn't really show off kind of the difference in, like, the stats here. But, I mean, it's more damage than they. I mean, and it could roll up to 5, so that's not too bad. That's a pretty big amount of damage. I mean, we're talking just with this to roll, like, greater affix, let's say that's, like, 7. I mean, that's, like, 35% extra, like, of the base damage. On average, every one rank is about 5% of your base damage, which is, like, way better than, like, any additive or even multiplicative because it's the base of everything that it scales off of. So we may actually finally see this blood surge build. I'm hoping that'll be good. Then we have Ebonpiercer. So Ebonpiercer was really OP in Season 4's PTR, but then it unfortunately got Omega nerfed and no good anymore. But in Season 5, we have the Blight projectiles to cast twice. We also have Ranks of Blight. We got Reaper's Pursuit, and Gloom, and then we also have Blight shoots out 4 smaller projectiles that pierce enemies and deal a set amount of damage. So if we're getting like more projectiles and more Ranks to Blight, obviously that's going to make it better. Is it going to be the best build in the game? We'll have to wait and see. I honestly haven't done any more recent testing on it. I just saw it on PTR and it was really cool, and I was like, okay, I want to try this, because now we got like this pure caster build that wasn't Bone Spear, because that was like the meta for several seasons for Necromancer. It was like the only viable build for a really long time. And then we have Greaves of the Empty Tomb, so we have the Sever boots. So Sever size gets increased. We have projectiles to cast twice. We also have damage reduction from shadow damage over time. And then we have plus to Reaper's Pursuit. And then Sever leaves behind Desecrated Ground. It's a nice source of getting Desecrated Ground over here. And then we have the Mutilator plate, which is for the Bloodlance. So Bloodlance getting some nice buffs. And we have 16% or over here. It's up to 17.5 maximum life. Getting this greater affix will be absolutely crazy. I think that people will want to get that greater affix and a Bloodlance. If you hit those 2 greater affixes, you are in the money. And then the other bonus over here, you also have to hit this. This is going to be a very hard item hit because there's like 3 things that people will definitely be wanting. But getting the Bloodlance deals up to 40x. They just doubled up the damage. And then on top of that, all the lucky hit stuff got buffed up by Necromancer as well. So if there's any proc chances for lucky hit, that'll be cool. And on top of that, Necromancer got a lot of more sacrifice bonuses, so maybe consider trying this instead of minions. I know that minions were super popular in the previous season, but I think in the Season 5, we're really looking at more blood as well as all the bone stuff being massively buffed. Then we have the Blood Artisan's Coils, which gives us some life. And then we get damage after we pick up a Blood Orb, which got definitely increased. We went from 17% to basically Diablo 3 numbers, almost like halfway. A lot of Diablo 3 numbers like 300, 500% damage, but like going from 17.5 to 135 is a pretty big jump. Then you also get ranks to Bone Spirit, which is pretty good. And then you get this thing here. This thing is actually bugged up, by the way. If any of you guys have tried it out, let me know if it has changed. But from what I last tested out in like the earlier stages of Season 4, this does not actually scale with your current life percent. It actually just still does like no bonus damage, because how it's supposed to work is it's supposed to be getting a bonus, like, because Bone Spirit does damage based on like the resources consumed. It doesn't actually like scale like properly. You can have like a bunch of life and it just doesn't give you an crazy amounts of bonus damage. My regular Bone Spirit was doing way more, so hopefully this will also get buffed and fixed there. And then we have Howl from Below. So this is when you get the corpse explosion. It summons a skeleton that walks and explodes. It's also the thing that we got in Season 2 for one of the vampiric powers, where the skeleton would come out. That was this. So we have some lucky hit, corpse attack speed, and then we have corpse explosion fears and slows, and then ranks to corpse explosion. So this would be kind of cool for some sort of automation build, especially if you run that thing earlier that gave us extra ranks to like generating the corpse. I think that maybe you can mix it in with this, just a lot more corpses to spawn in. I think it was like a lucky hit. Unfortunately, I can't control F, so I'm gonna have to come back to it. Oh shoot, did we go way too far up? I think we went too far up. Hold on. Okay, it was on another page. But getting all that's a huge flesh right here, where any damage that we have has a chance to create a corpse. I mean, getting this potentially greater affix, we get like 7 ranks to huge flesh. I mean, this could be pretty big. I mean, then we get like 10 into huge flesh. Then we could maybe generate lots and lots of corpses, so therefore we're getting more corpses when we use, like, let's say Black River Howl from below, so it absorbs in this giant skeleton that just hopefully can one-shot things, generating way more corpses. I think it would be a really cool build to have these like chain explosions, but it still has to kind of walk. But cool stuff indeed. If that finally becomes good, I'll be excited to try out that. And then we have the Curious Embrace, which gives us some life, which is a pretty good stat. And then we have some ranks to Blood Surge, Tides of Blood over here, and then we have casting Blood Surge consumes corpses to cause mini novas, dealing some set amount of damage, and it's increased for each enemy drained by your initial cast up to 50x. So I think this number is basically the same. So I'm curious to know if they finally changed this, but there's a thing where like your minions can also give it, it's called a Deathspeaker's pendant, and I'm hoping that this mini nova and the minions will eventually allow you to activate the ones where like when you cast it eventually it like overpowers. If that would work on every single like minion and stuff, that would be really cool, because minions I believe now can also have like a 3% chance to overpower. And then we have the Deathless Visage, and this is the thing I'm actually most excited about for Necromancer. We actually have ranks to Bone Spear. This thing is actually really good already, and you're going to be able to scale crit even harder with if you run like maybe Lockrens. But we have plus to maximum resource, which is good. We have armor, and then we have Bone Spear projectiles to cast twice, which is really good. Unfortunately, we lose out on that crit strike damage here, but it's fine because you can scale it in other areas. Plus, for the Bone Spear is actually quite great here. And then obviously getting this greater effects, getting 6 over here. And I think that this thing is actually really good. This over here actually does a pretty good amount of damage because it kind of echoes. And it does physical damage increased by 5x for every 30% critical strike damage you have. So obviously you scale as much crit as possible, and hopefully this thing can actually be very viable. As far as my testing goes, this item itself was already better than Harlequin with its like numbers, like in terms of how much DPS does this do versus Harlequin. Even though Harlequin's getting buffed and Harlequin will give you plus 4 ranks, this is going to give you even more. Let's say you get a greater affix, that's like 30% more damage on the base of the actual thing, because again it's like 5% per, so that will be actually pretty good to get. And if you masterwork it, hit the masterwork crits, I think this thing will be absolutely insane. Plus if you get this to be greater affix, the chance for Bone Spear, maybe getting that up to like 50%, like that would be really good. And I think this could easily be one of the best builds for Necromancer. As far as I'm aware of, though, I want to say Bone Spear is still probably number 1, and then maybe with the Splinters and Bone Spear taking like the number 2 spot for Necromancer off the top of my head. And then we have the Blood Moon Breeches upgrade, and I actually like this a lot. So it allows you to have this kind of automation. So you have overpower damage, you have curse duration, you have some life, curse skills, but the special power kind of got changed here. So your minions have a chance to randomly inflict Decrepify or Iron Maiden. Before it was your minions had a chance to curse enemies, but now we have Decrepify and Iron Maiden specifically, so you lose out on the other one, but whatever. And then you get to deal increased overpower damage to enemies affected by your curses. Before it was increased overpower damage from you. So that's the change over there. So if you want maybe kind of an automated build where your minions just apply the curses, because there's a lot of like bonuses, glyphs, different things on the Paragon board where it give you a bonus on curse. And sometimes when I was like making build guys, people were like, I don't like playing Necromancer because I don't want to curse the targets every single time before I attack them. And like that's how you got a lot of your damage, because otherwise you'd have to run this. So this could be another option if you like kind of the automated playstyle. Then we have the Ring of the Mendeln over here, which is going to be pretty dang good. I want to say if you get this greater affix, hopefully this plus masterwork can get this up to like 2 or 3, because there's a big source of damage. So you get int damage, minion attack speed, and then you have plus ranks to like everything. So if you like the hybrid minion builds, this is going to be great. And then it has basically the same effect. I don't think they changed the damage on it, but again, it's hard to tell. Then we have the Ring of the Sacrilegious Soul over here. So the newer updates are going to be, we get Lucky Hit, Movement Speed, Corpse Skills, Grim Harvest. Grim Harvest is new over here. And then basically the same stats overall. And then that is it for the Necromancer. I'm curious to know if you guys are playing Necromancer, what do you actually plan to play at the start? For me, if I was to play Necromancer, I would probably look at Bone Spear, as it was a really cool build, and then it like completely fell off the earth. And then now maybe you can look at Blood and Bone bone stuff. I think that's going to be kind of the fan favorite, but don't sign out Sever. There's a lot of other buffs with Sever. It's just in other forms, aspects, and other things. Just wasn't really here. There's a new like Blood Mist build where you get to like move and create like these like basically degen puddles, which could be another thing that you can consider. But again, there's nothing here to go ahead and show off because I just want to cover the brand new updates to the Necromancer. But that's going to wrap up things. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, subscribe if you're new to see more updates on the Necromancer, and we'll probably drop some build guides for the Necro. Like I said, I'm mostly interested in Bone Spear, but let me know what you're interested in playing. But Bone Spear is probably going to be the best build, just letting you guys know.